When Arne Duncan was named Secretary of Education, his mission was to fix our nation's broken schools. 2.5 years later, there's still much work to do. I sat down with Secretary Duncan to discuss his plans for fixing our schools and healing our communities. Secretary Duncan, thank you for spending some time with us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Now, you've been in office or in this position for nearly 2.5 years. When you came in, you had a very grand vision for what you were going to do for urban schools and really for schools around the nation. How do you think it's developed so far?
We have a long way to go, but honestly, I've been amazed by the level of progress. And as you know, I just feel this huge sense of urgency. There are far too many children in the country today who aren't getting the education they desperately need and deserve. So we have to get better faster than ever before. But to see what's happened already, see 45 states raising standards, college and career ready standards, we're going to stop lying to children, stop lying to parents, telling them they're ready when they're really not. And today, a child in Mississippi or Massachusetts or Maryland, doesn't matter, are going to be measured by the same standard. That's a big step in the right direction. To see folks thinking about how we create more options for children, how we bring better teachers into the inner city and retain them. A lot of hard work, long way to go, but the level of courage and the level of innovation we're seeing, not from us here in Washington, but at the local level. Great teachers, great principals stepping up. It's been phenomenal to be a part of, and our job here is to be a great partner, just to support that work going on in communities around the country.
One of the things you talk about regularly is education as a civil rights issue. What do you mean when you say that?
This work is real personal for me, and my mother's run an after-school program in the black community in the south side of Chicago for 50 years, raised my brother and sister and I as a part of the program since we were babies. And what I saw that has shaped me were two really powerful things. One, how poorly served children were by their public schools in far too many cases, but secondly, the amazing potential that the children she worked with had to be successful. And none of the children she worked with had family members who had gone to college. Most came from very tough family situations, a really violent community, and just amazing, amazing success stories of young people I grew up with. So today, if you can ride in the front of the bus, but you can't read, if you don't have a chance to compete in today's economy, you're not free. And so to me, this is absolutely the unfinished legacy of the civil rights era. Martin Luther King is obviously this amazing hero to me. And while there's been real progress, we have a long way to go. And I think it's incumbent upon our generation to try and fulfill that. And the only way we do that is through educational opportunity.
Talk to me about this distance that we still have to go. You know, you look at dropout rates, particularly in urban areas, sometimes as high as 50, 60, even 70% in certain places. Literacy rates are extremely low. We see school violence, we see teen pregnancy, we see teacher attrition. They aren't staying very long when they get into this position. It's still sort of a mess, right?
We got a long way to go, and let's start on the dropout rate. You and I know that if a student drops out today, they're basically condemned to poverty and social failure. There are no good jobs out there, none in the legal economy for a high school dropout. And it's got to be some form of higher education, 4-year universities, 2-year community colleges, trade, technical, vocational training. That's got to be the goal, the aspiration for every single young person. And if that's not happening, then we as educators, we have to look in the mirror and say, what can we do differently to help that young person be successful? We have to challenge students to work hard. It's their job to get a good education. We got to challenge parents to step up and be part of the solution. Teachers can't do this alone, but if we're perpetuating those dropout factories, we're not just condemning those children to poverty, we're hurting those entire communities.
One thing that seems to be the norm right now is a conversation about teachers, teacher quality, teacher attitudes, even teacher unions. I mean, there seems to be a national public conversation about whether teachers are doing the right thing and whether we're doing the right thing by teachers. How do you get tough on teachers? What's the mechanism for getting tough on teachers?
I don't even think the goal is to get tough on teachers. I think a lot of things haven't happened for teachers that we're trying to turn around. First of all, teachers don't get the support that they need to be successful. Teaching is tough, tough work, as you know better than anyone else. It's not for the faint of heart. And we lose far too many young teachers, far too many of our good young teachers, because we don't adequately support them. I think great teachers are just absolute miracle workers. They're changing students' lives every single day, often in very tough communities, often without enough resources. Why are we scared to shine a spotlight and highlight and reward and incentivize those amazing teachers that are changing lives every single day? Let
me ask you a question. I hate to interrupt. I'm curious to know, how though do we measure that excellence? I think one of the concerns many have is that we're measuring excellence through test scores. And as a result, people who work in high-risk areas, who work in so-called at-risk areas, can't show the test results, and therefore it looks as if they're not being as successful as other teachers?
So first of all, I'd say in any profession, whether it's in the TV industry, whether it's in education, whether it's in business, whether it's a sports team or non-for-profits or whatever it might be, you have to look at multiple measures. You have to look at a range of indicators. You have to talk to teachers themselves. You have to see what their principals think. You have to look at peer reviews. What I say, you have to look at student progress. And let me give you an example. We announced we're going to try and provide waivers around No Child Left Behind. What was broken in No Child Left Behind? So many things are broken. But the biggest thing is if I came to you, if you're a teacher, I come to you 3 grade levels behind, I leave you 1 grade level behind, under No Child Left Behind, you're labeled a failure.
Right.
You're not a failure. You're an amazing teacher. You under that 1 year, had 2 years of growth for 1 year of instruction. That teacher is a hero. We need to learn from them. We need to recognize that. We need to reward that. The incentive structure's been all wrong. We can't just look at absolute test scores because it doesn't measure how much you're getting better each year, how much a student's improving. And I've never yet seen a teacher who was scared of accountability. They just wanted to be fair.
Secretary, you mentioned No Child Left Behind. That is by far one of the most contested and debated public policies around right now. Where do you stand on it?
I think No Child Left Behind is fundamentally broken. And we hoped Congress would fix the law, fix it together in a bipartisan way. They haven't acted. So that's why President Obama and I announced we're going to partner directly with states and districts to provide much more flexibility. No Child Left Behind was far too punitive, about 50 ways to fail. The only reward for success was you're not labeled a failure. That makes no sense to me. Very prescriptive, very top-down from Washington. We don't have all the good answers. You've got to really empower great local teachers and principals and school board members to make a difference in students' lives. It led to a dumbing down of standards. Many states dummied down their standards, lied to children, lied to families, make themselves look good, helped them politically, but was bad for children, bad for education, ultimately bad for the states, and it led to a narrowing of the curriculum. And so we're looking to fundamentally change this. We want to reward excellence. We want to provide a lot more flexibility. And for me, the trade is real simple. Where states and districts are raising the bar, college and career-ready standards, challenging the status quo, challenging the dropout factories, trying to make sure students have a chance to be successful, we want to get out of their way, give them a lot more room to move.
Mr. Secretary, some would say that that's an easy pathway down toward privatization, though, right? That this idea that government should take its hand out opens the door for the private interest. What do you say?
I absolutely disagree with that. It's not us backing out. It's holding folks accountable to a high bar, but giving them the flexibility at the local level to be successful. This is all about creating great public schools for our nation's children.
What if those public schools have private money, though? With charter schools, obviously there's been a big push to charter schools. You've been sort of an advocate for charter schools, but many of them have the money of private companies and private interests that don't necessarily care about education as much as they care about dollar signs and bottom lines.
Well, I think with public education being so desperately underfunded, where you have individuals, where you have folks who want to come in and help provide after-school tutoring or help provide trips to college campuses or pay for that arts teacher that got cut out, I support that. Now, you need to hold them accountable. You need to make sure they don't have any ulterior motives. But I think as a country, we have to invest in education. In far too many places, we're walking away. And so if individuals, families want to help out, if companies want to help out, nonprofits, we all need to unite behind our schools.
Last question. 10 years from now, your educational vision is complete. Everything you want to put in place is put into place. What does the average urban school look like?
We're all motivated by one goal. President Obama's challenged us. We have to lead the world in college graduation again. One generation ago we did. We've fallen to about 16th now. What I want is for every single young person not to just graduate from high school. That's a starting point. That ain't an ending point. Graduate from high school, college, and career ready. And if we can, again, lead the world in college graduation, we're going to have strong communities. We're going to keep jobs in our communities. We're going to have a strong country.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thanks for the opportunity. Really
Pleasure.
appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Both Barack Obama and Arne Duncan say education is a civil rights issue of this generation. If it's a civil rights issue, why are they creating competition for resources that are essential for all of our children?